Every day the deficit grows. You spend more than you own. Well, Papa always said to me, well, keep a close eye on your authority. Stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear. We can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear. We can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear. And every day taxes increase. So is this our land or is this our lease? And Papa said, son, it's the land of the free. Well, Lizzie broke his back trying to make ends meet. It any farther. Push, pull, tear. We can't stretch it any farther. Push, pull, tear. Oh, push, pull, tear. stretch any farther.
Hey everyone, and welcome to our second night. I hope y'all enjoyed that move. I really like that song. I wanted to do something a little different this time. We bringing on some amazing singles this week. Last week, if you enjoyed the panel discussion, we talked about how it is to be in this pandemic, be alone, and how many of the singles were just not looking forward to Love Month. But, we had a great conversation. We had a great time. Many of the singles are back tonight. So we are just going to have a great time again. If you're watching via Facebook or YouTube, please share this now with all of your friends, families, loved ones, great people, because this is going to be a great conversation. Tonight, we are talking about dating in the pandemic or dating in a pandemic. With so many great singles on this panel tonight, I'm curious to know what it's like. How has it been dating in the pandemic? Has it been great? Has it been terrible? Has it been sour? I don't know. But the singles that we have here tonight, they are going to express what it's like dating in this pandemic. So tonight we have a very special guest. She is going to be with us every single week. I thank God for this connection and for having her on. She is a certified matchmaker. I was about to say life coach. Maybe that's something that's going to happen later on in the maybe that's part of her calling. I don't know. But she is a certified matchmaker, and she is a wonderful and awesome individual. Michelle Apples, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Michelle was with us last week, and she had such great insight. And I'm excited to have her back on the panel because of the fact that she is a certified matchmaker. She hooks people up. So if you guys are looking for somebody and you just having trouble getting on these dating apps or things like that, Michelle is your contact. So please hit her up. She is on Instagram. I believe it's at Michelle Apples, right?
Yeah.
Yep, at Michelle Apples. So all together, Michelle Apples, like the apples that you eat, Adam and Eve apples. So we're gonna move along. This week we also have returning the Lone Ranger, the only man on the panel, but he's holding it down. He's holding it down. Y'all pray for him, but he's doing great. He's doing a great job. What's going on, man? Guy, how you doing?
What's going on, man? Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Man, we are excited to have you here, man. To be honest with you, man, I'm excited to have you back. We just really got out of a great clubhouse room and literally hopped on over here to do this panel. And I mean, Clubhouse is just such an amazing place right now.
It
So,
is.
That's how I met Michelle. So that's God is moving. But let me keep going on.
Present on Clubhouse. Let's go.
Let's go, like for real. Let's go. We may even move this to Clubhouse one day. We don't even know. Let's see. Depends on how this goes tonight. So, our third returning guest, she stepped away for right now, but she'll be back in a second. We'll bring her up in a little bit. But we have two new panelists tonight. Isabella, I'm going to start with you. I initially put the post out that I was looking for some singles through Christian Podcasters Association. And I saw Isabella's lovely face. She commented and said, I would love to be a part of this great discussion. I can bring value and insight. So I'm excited to have you on, Isabella. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling blessed right now, so I can't complain.
I love it. So, Isabella, if you don't mind telling the people a little bit about what you do and what you're about.
Okay. So I am a creative, Christian creative. I love using that term because everything that I do, God gets the glory at the end of the day. So whether it's through event planning, if it's through photography, podcasting as well. So everything that I do creating wise, like God just works through me, and I'm always making sure that before I do anything, I'm praying just to have insight and know exactly what to do, not just moving by my own will. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny because you brought that up, that Christian creative. Pastor Eric Mason and Distel were on Instagram earlier this week, and he was just talking about how creatives, if you're a Christian, you need to be bold about saying that you're a Christian creative and just come out and tell everybody, I'm a Christian creative. I'm a Christian creative. I would consider myself a Christian creative as well because a lot of the stuff that we do, everything that I do, to be honest, is pointing to Jesus. Is to really help and bless and benefit the body of Christ. So I'm excited to hear that. I'm excited to have a Christian creative on, man, a fellow Christian creative.
Thank you
On
for
the
having me.
so,
I'm excited for tonight's conversation.
yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Don't be shy now. Don't, you're a Christian creative, so I know you got some stuff. All right, our next guest. She joined us last week briefly. She had class and she had some other assignments and some other engagements. But we thank God that she's with us tonight. She is our international. We abroad, y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, we all over the place. We have Canada in the house. I meant to say that earlier. Michelle is in Canada. She's in Toronto. She's in the six. We got New Jersey. Isabella's in New Jersey. We got Greensboro. And now we have South Africa in the building. How you doing, Trish? How you doing?
Good morning, everyone. I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to be here.
Now, Trish, you said good morning. What time is it your way? Let the people know what time it is.
It is 4:16 a.m.
4:16. Now, just a day ago, um, in Rod's time, he was just getting a phone call telling him not to come to work. And here we are a day later, and she is with us at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's dedication. That is dedication. I love it, and I'm very, very humbled, and I'm honored that you are here with us. Like when you came on last week, I was just touched by you engaging and being a part of the panel through the comments and everything like that. And so that's another reason why I'm excited to have you on because I feel like we've connected so many times through social
Yeah, you
media.
have.
And it's like
Absolutely.
you're an amazing individual. So I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad to have you here because it's like, there's so many people all over this great world. So you're going to give us a great idea and insight what it's like to be single in another country, what it's like over there. We're only familiar with what's over here in North America, but you are in a whole nother, you in the motherland.
Yeah.
Is it different in the motherland? I mean, how is it out there? Is it a lot different as far as dating wise? Is the field slim or?
Well, it's definitely different, especially for me because um, I've been exposed to like two different countries. I lived in America for a year, and then I lived in China for 2 years. So coming back home at the beginning of 2020, just to visit my family for about a month,
Mhm.
and then I was told that I can't go back because of the pandemic.
Wow.
So that's so that basically, and I think I'll speak about that a little later. That has pushed me into this space of focusing on singleness. So yeah, we'll talk more about that when we
Love it.
are
Love it.
ready to go.
So, the last person we're gonna bring up, she just hopped off. She'll pop in when she's ready. She is an amazing individual, Felicia Ashford. Me and Felicia go way back in the time. And she's a mother, and so she's probably dealing with her kids if she's not whooping them or something. I'm not gonna put it out there like that. So we have an amazing conversation tonight. As I said in the opening, we are talking about dating in the pandemic. And I've already sent our esteemed panelists the questions and everything that we're going to be talking about tonight. Each and every question and topic that we're going to get into tonight is really going to bless you guys tremendously. I'm really praying and believing that it will. I know that it will because we're talking about dating in the pandemic. What is that like? How has it been for you guys dating in the pandemic? Has it been, kind of different than out? I mean, of course, it's been different than outside the pandemic, but how has it been, slightly different for you, Rod? How has it been different for you dating in this pandemic?
In the initial height of the pandemic, it was somewhat hard because everything closed down. So there was really nowhere to go to date. So it was basically a lot of conversation, and just hanging out, like just out walking around, like stuff like that, because nothing was really open or they had strange hours and things like that. So it was weird. You really have to, even now, you had to have, and then you have to be intentional. Like if that's what you decide to do, like you really got to be trying to like date on purpose. It's not like just off the whim thing. So
now you said something that's interesting. Dating intentional. What does that mean? How do you date intentional in this pandemic?
um, ooh. So
Did I put you on the spot?
back, way back in the day, you would juggle, or you would have multiple interests, but you really can't do that now. Not that I do it, that was way back in the day. But so you really like, okay, I like this young lady, like I really, want to pursue something. So let me figure out, because you have to figure out how you're going to do it. So you really have to put your mind, okay, so where are we going to go? What are we going to do? So it's like a lot of thought that you actually have to put into dating. It ain't like, you can just hit her up, let's go to a movie, let's go out to eat, because out to eat ain't open, movies ain't open. So, you really have to think about, what am I going to do with you? Like, where am I to take you? How are we going to make this work? So.
Exactly. What about you, Isabella? Has it been different? Have you had any virtual dates or anything like that?
Yes, I definitely have. So, just talking about the beginning of the pandemic, I feel like it came at the perfect time for my single season. Because it was like the beginning of 2020. I made the decision. Well, the ending of 2019, going into 2020, I made the decision just to stay single and intentionally single and focus on myself. So, whether that was just building up my business, just teaching. I was an educator in the beginning of the year. So everything was just like in the line. It was just perfect. So there were interests that came along the way. So virtual dates did come in the picture, just to make sure I'm following all COVID protocol and stuff, not trying to be nowhere near anybody. But yeah, it was good. It's going good.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Michelle, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit. How has dating been for you in this pandemic? Have you seen anything that has been out of the ordinary? Well, this whole pandemic is really out of the ordinary, but anything that's even more out of the ordinary during this pandemic?
Yeah, I honestly, like, as a matchmaker and dating coach, like, I find that I've actually seen a lot more success stories in the pandemic and in COVID than prior. And, I think that's for a few different reasons, because people have more time than ever that they're sitting at home. So they have time to actually dedicate to their pursuit of someone else. And then there's less distraction, whereas we don't have our friends around. We're not going to hang out with different friends every other night. And so there's no distraction. So, and then two, like we were talking about before, you have to date on purpose. You have to be intentional. So it became from dating 100 people to like, I have to really narrow it down and make sure this person is really worth pursuing. But I also think that there was like another level of conversation happening because, we're talking so much and for such a longer period of time where we're not just saying, oh, hey, I think you're attractive, let's go out. It was like, no, I actually have to like spend time and get to know you, have intentional conversations. And I think the conversations had to be a lot more vulnerable a lot sooner because now there's health involved. There's boundaries. There's having to have that open communication of, hey, this is my boundary and this is where I'm coming from, or these are my COVID protocols. Like, what does yours look like? Whereas I think before that, conversation was just so like la-di-da, like it didn't really matter, it didn't really mean anything. And so I think having those intentional conversations and having to date with intention has really helped me be successful in relationships. And I've actually been to a wedding in this season where they actually met in COVID and ended up getting married in COVID. And I have now known 3 people that have gotten married and met their spouse in COVID season, which has been crazy to see. And I did a podcast interview actually last night, and from the wife to one of the guys that got married in COVID, and she just said what she said was like, I thought to myself, like, how was I going to find my future husband? Because I felt God was preparing me for marriage during this season. And then I realized, like, God is a big God. Like, if it's my time to find someone, this pandemic's not going to stop us. And so it's really cool to see, like, relationships are actually flourishing. But then on the other side of things, they are, like, people are breaking up that probably wouldn't break up if it wasn't for a pandemic. So it's really showing people's true colors as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you made an interesting point. Like a lot of this time that we're spending at home, we have a lot of nothing to do, especially if you're single and you don't have a family and kids and other people tugging at you. You have a lot of time on your hands. And so when you're trying to get to know someone, you really are expediting the process. You're getting straight to the point real quick because you don't have any time to waste. And it's funny because we talked about it briefly last week about Married at First Sight, and I won't say it's similar to that process, but just the process of expediting that little mushy gushy face to just get straight to the hard questions and the stuff. Do you want to have kids? Do you want to get married? Like, what is your intentions behind this? That is very key. I've actually performed a wedding during COVID, and the couple that's married now, they're a beautiful couple and they're still together, thank God. And I think that it's amazing to hear that people are meeting each other and getting married in this pandemic because they're able to, I won't say rush the process, but because this pandemic has really forced people to talk to each other, whether it's virtually or whether you pick up the phone and call each other. I mean, that's just amazing. So Trish, in where in your neck of the woods in South Africa, have you had to date intentional in South Africa, or have you like pursued anyone internationally?
Well, as I said earlier, I got here last year in January, and the purpose of it was to come home and visit my family after 2 years. So when I left, I was in a relationship. So when I landed in South Africa, I was in a relationship. But I feel like it happened for a reason. I was like 5 months in, and to me, everything was going in a good direction. It was a little different from previous relationships. So this was something for me personally I could work with, But then when I got here, things started to change. And maybe I didn't get to know this part of the person. Like, how would he manage a long distance kind of thing? So I just went with the flow, aired my frustrations about certain things. And then I just got locked in here, just spending time with family and focusing on that. And, not thinking about something that I don't really have direct control over. So that's what I've done. And now I'm like here for over a year. And I'm not, I don't want to be technical, but like technically I'm not single, but like I have declared that I am single for like a few months now, because I feel like I understand that there are difficulties, and I know that's one of the questions we are going to talk about. I understand the dynamics of long distance, but for me, especially if you are at a certain age, there are certain things that you are able to tolerate. And if you're unable to find the person that will be in it with you under these circumstances, because I didn't ask for it, it happened, so what are we going to do with what we have? So, things like that. So because of that situation, I haven't dated here. I've chosen not to date here. But I've had people or guys that have approached me, and all I say to them, you know what? I'm cool with us being friends and all, but like, I ain't going beyond that point. And I found that it was difficult for them to accept. It's like, it's difficult here back home. People don't want to be friends anymore. People just want more than that, especially when it comes to a guy and a girl. And right now, I don't want anything more than that. So that's where I'm at with the dating part. Like, I don't want to date right now because I'm not I'm not at the age where I just want to casually date. I want to go with Bishop, right? I want to like intentionally date. Like, I wanted to go somewhere. I'm not about the dating life right now.
No,
Personally.
that's a great point though, because and it goes back to the point we made earlier, like the intentionality. You're dating with a purpose now.
Absolutely.
And that has to deal with like the different age range. Like, if you're younger, then you have the time to kind of play around and play little games and whatnot. But as you get older, and you've been in relationships and you understand how these things go, you're not trying to play around too much longer because you don't know what's going to come next as you get older.
Absolutely. And what I learned during this time was, if you're looking for a husband, don't walk around being a girlfriend. You walk around as a wife.
Come on.
That kind of
Come
thing.
on, Trish.
So that's where I'm at right now. I have to draw my boundaries. Like, I ain't no girlfriend anymore. I'm wifey material right now. So I need to attract that. You attract what you give regard to. And that is what I'm putting out there. And that's what I want to attract. I need me a husband now, not a boyfriend.
Come on. That's what I'm talking about. That's good.
Talking good. You're talking good.
She's talking real good, right? So, fellas, if y'all out there, she is looking for a husband. She said, don't come in her sideways. Don't slide in her DMs. If you don't have a job, you better come correct. Awesome. So I want to move to the next question, which is talking about quarantine bays. So we have coined that term since quarantine has started. I remember when everything kind of kicked off. People were trying to find quarantine bays, people that they could get, find somebody they can stay with while they're in quarantine. So the questions that I have is, I would say, have you had a quarantine bay? Do you even have a quarantine bay? Do you even want a quarantine bay? I know there's a lot of questions. And do you think it's needed to have one for Valentine's Day, especially since Valentine's Day is literally Sunday? And I'm gonna come to you first, Michelle.
Okay. Well, I had a quarantine bay. He was a boyfriend, but we broke up a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, I mean, it was for the best that we broke up, but he was an amazing person, and like it was the healthiest relationship I'd ever been in, and we had so much fun together, and it was really nice having someone around for the few months that we were together, which was great. And I don't think it's necessarily that you need a quarantine bay. In fact, I would suggest against it, especially if you're like Trish and you're walking around as a wife and not a girlfriend. You should not be having a quarantine bay because, unless someone's ready to get serious with you and have an intentional relationship, that's the last thing you want, is to make yourself unavailable to the person that God has for you. Valentine's Day is tricky. Everyone is a little more lonely, but grab your girlfriends, grab your guy friends, connect with great people. It doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always good to connect with people because you need to have somebody that you can talk to. I mean, if you in those four walls by yourself all day and you literally talking just you and Jesus eventually be like, all right, go and find you somebody else to bug. I love you, but go and find somebody else. Because that's why he created Eve. He created Eve for Adam. Like, man should not live by bread alone. Well, that's not the right context to use that. But he made a help me. He made a help
know
me
where you
for
were
him
going.
because man can't live alone. He can't live by himself. And
It's not
I
good.
mean, I feel like it's like that for a lot of females too. Like it's not good for people to be alone. And we'll kind of touch on that in a little bit later. But Isabella, I know you kind of alluded to a little bit earlier that you are intentional about just being single. But do you want a quarantine bae? Do you want? And I'm not saying like a quarantine bae to be like someone that stays with you or anything like that, but maybe somebody that you can talk to and kind of bounce things off of and really kind of encourage you or strengthen you in your Christian walk.
Yeah, so in the beginning I was just not interested, but as the year went on, felt like I was at a point of getting ready to know people and just being intentional with that. So that's when the virtual dates came in. Just like I was able to network with people through like Zoom events, and that's how I was able to connect. So I'm part of like a Christian group where we had like different virtual events for all the Christian singles for us to do like speed dating. Clubhouse has been awesome as well to even connect with people on there. So yeah, just having that set of like virtual dating and knowing the right questions to ask people, so you know if this is somebody I'm moving forward with or letting them go. So yeah, like so now I'm at the point where I am speaking to someone like that is potential. They were getting there. But I think Bay is not necessarily needed for Valentine's. Like I've never celebrated Valentine's with like a significant other, so I don't really look at it as like this is a day to celebrate with a significant other. Like I usually celebrate it with like my mom, like just showing her like a day of love, like that on top of like Mother's Day and stuff. So yeah, I haven't really celebrated like that.
That's good. That's good. Bishop, I'm coming to you. Do you want a quarantine bae? Do you
Do I
want a
want a
quarantine
quarantine bae?
first
Yeah,
lady?
I do. Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, I told y'all last week I'm getting old. Yeah, it's time to settle down, start families. Have to like literally like all of my friends are married, coupled off, out here having children. Then it's just me. Um, so yeah, I'd be like, oh, let's take a trip. No family. I'm like, yo. So yeah, I do want a quarantine day. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's find Bishop a quarantine bae. Let's make that a hashtag, y'all. Hashtag get Bishop a quarantine.
Ah,
Oh, I'm messing with you, bro. Now, Isabella hit on something earlier about how Clubhouse has been a great tool. Michelle, I've noticed that you have been in a lot of rooms on Clubhouse where you guys do a lot of connecting and mixers and things like that to try to connect people with different individuals and see if they can make a match. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every day at 12, I host a singles mix and mingle on Clubhouse, as well as some evenings. Tonight I had one on helping people with their profile photos, with their bios, how to leave a lasting impression. I have another one after this that I'm going to hop on. So yeah, it's just been a great app to really connect with people. And I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be in dating, but I think like when you find great people, you just connect and who knows where it will lead, right? And I think that's where I think people need to approach dating more in that way. Because I feel like a lot of people, especially Christians, go into dating being like, is this my wife? Like, or is this my husband? I'm like, you don't even know the person. Like, do you even know it? Because like, you're looking at only one quality, and it's like first date, they're my spouse. It's like stop putting that much pressure on that poor person who's sitting in front of you. And so just like spending the time to just like network and connect and learn qualities about people. And if I'm ever talking to someone, I just say, hey, let's just connect. No pressure on the table of like, oh, are we or are we not? Because at the end of the day, eventually you will figure that out, but it doesn't have to be this crazy pressure thing.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. What's your question?
So with Clubhouse, when I initially hopped on like around November, October, there were a lot of shoot your shot rooms where they're just, you go on stage, if you see somebody that's in the audience that you would love to bring up. What do you think your opinion is on that?
Yeah, so we do some of these same sort of rooms where people can come up, kind of introduce themselves quickly, tell people, the audience, what they're looking for. And it's just like, if you think about it, it's just really connection. And again, that's how TJ and I met, like through Clubhouse. And I don't remember what room it was in, but it's just like, it's connecting, and it doesn't have to be this weird, awkward dating thing. And even if you go on a stage and say, hey, this is who I am. Yeah, I am marriage minded, or yeah, I am looking for a quarantine bae, as Bishop said. It's like, it's not a bad thing to put that out there, right?
Yeah.
God might provide it for you on this app, but he might not, and he might provide you with great connections. So it's really just a matter of like, it's not a bad thing to put yourself out there.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. That is good, and it's so funny that we're talking about apps, and I want to switch over to dating apps. Michelle, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So as a matchmaker, especially working with Christians, I'm a Christian matchmaker specifically. I always find that Christians don't know if they should be using dating apps. They're like, oh, I don't know. It just seems like it's not something biblical, or it's not something that we should be doing. But like, dating isn't in the Bible, really, like it doesn't say how to date in the Bible. So as a matchmaker, I get that question all the time. So I think I would love to know, just like from you guys, like, what is your opinion on dating apps? Should Christians use dating apps? Have you used dating apps, and what is your opinion on it? Bishop, if you want to go first.
I don't see a problem with dating apps. It's just another form or method of getting to know someone, or actually broadening your pool of actually meeting people, or who you would meet. Some people you may not have ever come into contact with personally, or interactions, because everybody doesn't go to maybe bars or clubs or something like that where you would sometimes meet someone. Personally, I would not, because with the dating app, there is a level of dishonesty that can come with that. Of course, you only see, or you're presented with what they want to show you. And so, like, there is a limited type of connection that you can get with a physical interaction, or like, dialogue, like in person. So I wouldn't personally, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't think it's against the Bible. So.
And Isabella?
Yeah, I agree with what Bishop just said. Yeah, I just love that point, because I think it's all about the intention that you go onto the app with. So if you are going there to looking for someone just to make communication with, you can find that person on that dating app. If you're trying to seriously date, you can find that on the dating app as well. So I think one thing, I've been on dating apps like in the past before, and one thing I realized is that the bio and your photos are very important as well, like, and how you respond to certain things. So if someone's saying like, hey, how are you doing, and you're just keeping that constant communication by like looking at their text, if they're interested or what they're trying to get at. Like sometimes what the person really wants or their intentions is in what's not really said. Like you can like find little hints here and there and stuff. So I think dating apps have been like awesome in terms of me meeting friends. Like I've been on like Bumble, where there's like networking on there. That's been awesome. Christian, there is a Christian dating app that I'm not against it. It's called United Young, and I've met awesome friends as well on there, like friends, women and men on there that are just wanted to connect with other Christian believers that are all over the world. So that's been great. And I know a couple that got married from meeting on United app. That's United Young on there. United
Young?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. I thought the only Christian dating app was Christian Mingle. Like,
no, there's lots now.
There's more than that now?
Yeah, there's like Upward, there's like Legal, there's all sorts.
Laugh at me, but I actually thought Plenty of Fish was a Christian. I really did. I thought Plenty of Fish was a Christian dating app. There's somebody got the bust my bubble one day. I was like, Plenty of Fish. I just went straight to Peter on the boat. I just thought,
my goodness, it's so funny.
You, I bet you was sorely mistaken
That's
when
what
you
I'm
saw
like. I'm just dating
how
apps,
you
not
got
for
on
me.
there.
I'm just that's something that
Oh
must be
my God.
choice. But
Yeah, yeah, that's hilarious though, because it's I've been out of the game for a minute. So I don't know none of these apps that you guys are talking about. I do know plenty of fish, only because not because I've been on there. Let me clarify that I know plenty of fish. I only know about that one because of some jokes and stuff that was made
right,
about it. But
it's not the
but
Saints.
what was that?
I thought it was for the Saints, but it was.
I don't- It's for the ain'ts. That's what it's for. It's for the ain'ts. And like I never knew that, and I didn't mean to cut you off while you were listing the different Christian apps, Michelle. What are the apps again?
There's a new one called Upward. It was called Fifth before, but now it's called Upward. Coffee Meets Bagel. Christian Bagel. Yeah. But I think there's also other ways to make apps targeted, whereas Hinge, I think Hinge is a great one because A, you can put that you're a Christian and you can put that that's a deal breaker. B, you can also put in the prompts, like there's little prompts that you can answer. And if you put words like Christian, church, Jesus, God in your little prompts, it now shows you people that also put those things in your bio.
Yeah.
So you're coming across more serious Christians rather than people are like, I say I'm Christian, but I go to church twice a year, like at Christmas and Easter, right? I think there is ways to be more intentional with online dating that not a lot of people. And again, I think it goes back to what Bishop said and being intentional about it. And Isabella touched on it too. It's like how are you going in to online dating and where's your heart at? Like, let's talk about heart position. Not, is this okay for Christians to do? Is it biblical? Or is it not?
That's true.
That's good. Bishop, I was interested to see if they had any dating apps for bishops, and I just googled dating apps for bishops, and ministrypeoplemeet.com came up, and the Secret Garden Spy is another one. That sounds very sexual.
Garden, come on.
I would recommend that one. I see
for
Christian
that.
Cafe, Church Tech. That don't sound like an app, but yeah. So there's some out there for the ministry people that are looking for ministry spouses.
I didn't even know that these existed.
Google is an amazing tool.
You should develop that. Ministry spouses. I like that. Develop that.
Ministry spouses. Okay, we may have be on something right now. By one faith. Ministry spouses by one faith. Hey, you might be on to something. I might make some money off of that.
Yeah, I think you would.
Now, Trish, I wasn't gonna ask you because you made it clear that you are wifey material. So, do you even have a dating profile that just says I'm wifey material? Leave me alone, or what?
Nope. You guys have been talking about all of these apps and dating apps, and again, I'm not against it, but I not for once ever considered trying it out. I have friends that are trying it out. Well, to be honest, I love South Africa, but I will never try it out in South Africa. It's just, I'm good with the traditional way of meeting people. But if I was maybe in a different country, I would consider it. But I don't know. I think I can use the word scared. That's one of the reasons why I think I didn't even look in that direction, because I didn't want to deal with how am I going to know if this person is genuine? How am I going to know if the information shared is the truth? And I didn't want to deal with that. If you're in front of me and there's there's proximity, for me that helps. And so the apps, I don't know if I would ever consider that.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, I think that certain apps that are dedicated to Christians, if you're not familiar with them, or if you're not just that type of person to get in them like that, then I wouldn't get into them. I'm like you. I'm kind of old. Well, of course, I'm old school because I've been out of the game for forever. So, and so I mean, if anything, God forbid, anything happened, I would probably be so out there trying to figure it out myself and just lost in the sauce. So looks like we
Yeah.
have Felicia
That's
back.
why you guys would hire me.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
Well, now I know. Now I know. Isabella spoke about like Clubhouse, and I've been recently, moving in the different rooms there, and it's been amazing because the connections you make are amazing. And like, I know it's kind of like the dating app because you're meeting people like online, but like there's a level of trust in there.
Yeah.
Because you're putting in your information. There's no making up of anything, and there's business connections. So you have to have that level of trust in there. So that's what I love about it. And I know that you spoke about, having a baby during quarantine, and that like the Lord is probably not going to want to be with you all the time. But like for me, he's been tolerating me because he's been wanting me in the space for a few years now.
Mhm.
And all Trish has been doing is like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to seek you first because I'm in a relationship. Well, I'm going to seek you first. And then it's always been relationship, relationship, relationship. But I think now it was like he forced me into this lockdown period so that I could get locked in and learn more about Trish and
Come
learn more
on.
about what she needs and areas she needs to transform. And yes, so he has been my quarantine bae, and I've been loving it.
Yeah.
Like
Come on,
one of the things that okay, I'm not exaggerating. I think I've watched it like 10 times. So there's a series by Pastor Michael Todd,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got relationship goals,
Yeah.
and he's got like an 8-part series. I think I've
Yeah.
watched that like 10 times over. And there I've learned how, wow, he's such an amazing example of Adam and how God prepared him for Eve. And he looks at the different areas. Like, it's not only about your personal development, it's about the job, it's about owning your own home, it's about doing all of those things. And over the years, all I focused on was if I'm in this relationship, we could do it together. If I'm in that, we could build together. But I didn't realize that I needed to build me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I needed to build a confident Trishan, a Trishan that is able to stand her ground and hold her own. Not in an egotistical kind of way, but in a way that brings me out to be the person that knows my worth and that knows my purpose in God. And all of these years, I've not going to say wasted, but I think that was just my process of shaping and molding to this point in my life. So yeah, God has been my quarantine bae for about a year now.
Trish, did you know that Michael Todd has 2 relationship goals here?
Yes. I'm actually listening to the second part, and I have the book now. So I'm doing my thing, alone and with the Lord.
Still doing my thing with the Lord, enjoying Him. So Trish, you actually made a great point, and I kind of want to kind of allude to this, and this one-off question is not on the list. So, how has your faith increased during this lockdown season? Has it elevated a lot? Do you see that there are areas for you to improve as a single person, or do you feel that you are in the right place right now where you are in your relationship with God? Felicia, I'm gonna come to you first since you just hopped on the line.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question again so that way I can.
Yeah. So, how has your faith been since being in quarantine? Has it increased? Has it? Do you see areas of improvement, or do you feel that your faith is just at an all-time high level?
I can say that it definitely has increased. On the last episode, I stated how I feel like I'm in the place that I'm in right now for a reason. There's a purpose behind it. I myself am single, but I'm not actively seeking a relationship. Oftentimes I'm approached and they're like, well, what are you looking for? My answer is nothing. I'm not looking for anything because I'm content with where I am right now. So there has been a lot of things that I've been seeking God about as far as who I need to be as a woman. I'm divorced. So who I need to be as a woman, who I need to be, as a wife again, as a mother, as a business owner, so yeah, I have been seeking God for direction, and it hasn't just been solely about dating. So yes, my faith has increased, and I have a different and a deeper relationship with him, and I trust him more now. And that was big for me trusting God that he will actually lead me in every area of my life and not just certain areas. So to circle back, yeah, my faith has definitely increased.
That's good. Isabella, I know you kind of hit on it earlier how you came into quarantine, well, prior to quarantine actually hit, and you were just intentional in just being single.
Yeah.
Like how has your faith increased during this time?
It's literally increased so much because of having that, like making that intentional decision to focus on my relationship with God and where he was taking me within my purpose. So 2020, it was like just literally I will wake up, teach my kids, and then afterwards just hop into like reading the word or just worshiping, just being in that moment, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to hear from God and also learn as well. So during then too, like my church, luckily we had virtual services where I was able just to tune in, interact on Zoom, and just speak to other Christians during then. So it strengthened my relationship even more, to the point that I'm like, I don't mind just spending a day with God if I need to. So I joked around because on how this year Valentine's is on Sunday, I'm like, that's it. Like, it's just me and the Lord.
Right.
Because like before, I know like I was speaking to like other single friends of mine, and they were saying that when like Valentine's is like on a Friday or like during the week, it made them feel like, oh my gosh, now I had to like pay attention to this day and all that stuff. But like it being on Sunday, like all you gotta worry about is just literally we're going to church. You can go out to brunch with friends, socially distancing, and you don't need to focus mainly on that day. So yeah, it's been going good.
That's good. That's good. Now, Michelle, you alluded to earlier that you had just recently came out of a relationship. How has your faith increased since you came out of that relationship, or do you feel that that relationship, um, being in that relationship, your faith was increasing in that relationship as well?
Yeah, it was interesting season because I think there are two parts kind of to it, where the relationship, like I said, was the healthiest relationship I'd ever been in. And he was very much a man of God, where he called me every morning. We did devotionals together. Every week we would check in with each other and be like, hey, how can I intentionally pray for you this week? And yeah, it was very God-centered, and it was beautiful to have a relationship that was so God-centered, and just knowing that Christ was in the center of that relationship. But that being said, come January, I actually stepped into a 21-day prayer and fasting. So we spent a lot of less time together because I was really intentional about like, hey, I just don't really want the distractions while I'm on this prayer and fast, which this prayer and fast actually led to a lot of health issues, which kind of led to the breakup as well. So it was a very testing time for me because God revealed so much to me in that 21 days. But then also it took me to a breaking point at the end of this fast where I broke down because everything felt like it was in shambles, whereas my health was like, there was definitely an attack on me, whereas health was not good. Relationship is breaking, crumbling. I was in doctors and specialists trying to figure out what was going on. And I was like, God, I felt so aligned with you coming into this year because of this prayer and fasting. But honestly, throughout all that, it really made me just lean into him and be like, God, like, I need you more than ever right now. And so that in itself strengthened my faith in a new way that wasn't the faith I had in this relationship. So although this relationship was very God-centered and it was very full of like strengthening of my faith, I saw a new level of strength in my faith after this relationship when I hit a breaking point and had to just cry out to the Lord and say, I need you.
That's powerful. That's really powerful because, you gave such a great illustration of how you're in this great relationship and how beautiful it was from a Christian standpoint, to where you came into this fast and it was like the Lord kind of revealed some things to you, and it really caused you to really cry out to him even more than you were in your relationship. That it's like a beautiful story, and it's almost like a beautiful love story that you're writing, and that the Lord is helping you pen between you and him, because it's helping you to understand that you have to lean and depend on him even more, and that you have to trust him in all these uncertain things that's going on. And you may not understand why these things may be happening, but God is still there, and he's still with you, and he's walking you through each and every situation as you go through with it. So I think that is amazing. That was an amazing story, and I thank you for sharing that, for real. I really do. So
I
Bishop,
wonder,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Isabella.
you just said a key thing that just stood out was just allowing the Lord to write your love story, and that is something that sometimes we try to write our own story, but like, okay, I want to meet this person here. They have to look like this, they have to look like that and stuff. And I feel like at times, and that's one thing I realized like earlier, was that I don't want my preference to limit where God is taking me in my purpose. So I want to be my purpose mate, not somebody that just looks good on my hand, or we can just do these certain things. And that's also like something that kept me centered as well. Like when I was just focusing on just being single, like, okay, this is being God. So people would come along the way that maybe if I was paying attention to my preference, I'd be like, you're the one. But I had to literally die to myself. It was like, you know what? I'm focusing on what God has for me. So certain things, like certain conversations after I'll get to know a person, if like I had that key of discernment, that was just like, you know what, this person is not the one. So just simply like letting them know and being honest, like, yeah, you're a great person, but I don't think this will go that route and stuff. And I think that one of the guys had said to me was like, you're so honest. Like, I love that. And I was like, okay, but it's something that we kind of avoid at times. Like we avoid confronting what we really need to like have from the person, or what God is saying, God is directing us, and we try to write our own story. So yeah. And even with Clubhouse, I wanted to add in that I literally, after my whole this year of just focusing on myself and knowing where God is taking me, I had the chance to literally meet somebody from Clubhouse, where like we started speaking, and I felt such a peace. Like I felt like literally like just God being the center of our conversations, us being friends, and then just like speaking from there. I'm just like, okay, like God is definitely in this. This is not something that is just that good conversation, but I felt a peace. I was able my relationship from there. So yeah.
That's good. And it's so funny because like you can tell when God is in the middle or in the midst of your relationship with him, because when everything kind of plays out the way that it does, and it's like things just happen the way they happen, it's like it goes back to the word we've been using all night. It's like it's intentional. It's like God is intentionally showing you all these different aspects of this person and showing himself in the midst of these things, so that he can show you that this is the person that either A, you should be with in this season, or B, that this person could be with you for the rest of your life. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing. So Trish, do you want to add anything to that? Because I see you over there. It's like you ready to
Yeah, like I know that the question was like, has your faith increased? And definitely for me, because living in China for 2 years, you don't have access to like church, and I know it's beyond church, but for me, growing up and being at church 2-3 times, even 4 times a week, and then you go away to not even being at church on a Sunday. So I basically had to sustain myself with watching online, and then being back home, it has helped me so much. And like, as I said, when God forces you into this place, he's doing it for a reason, and he wants you to see the thing behind the thing. Because most of the time I just focus on what's in front of me, but then now I am forced to see the thing behind the thing. Like now I know, I always ask, when you go through a few failed relationships, you ask the Lord, like, why do I still want to still love and still want to give it my all, irrespective of what I've gone through? Why is it that I'm okay with still giving my all and not building all these walls in front of me? And then all I heard was, because that's who you are. And that is who I created you to be. So I won't give you anything that you can't handle. It may feel that way, but and then he was like, draw strength from your adversity. Whether it's relationship, whether it's your job, just continue to draw strength from it, because those things shape you. And that is what this pandemic has shown me. And I know, I mean, think about it. This is the first time in a very long time that every single one of us can relate a situation, in the sense of it being the exact same situation, a pandemic. But the stories behind the pandemic is going to be different. Like, what have you done during this time? What have you done with the time that God has given you? God has given us, all of us, an equal amount of time now since last year. But all of us have obviously done different things with that time. So for me, it has grown. I can firmly say, you know what? I want a man that is able to lead my family or our family. I want a man, like, I know I'm strong. I've been regarded as this alpha woman for a few years now, because I'm bold. I speak my truth. I'm not afraid to speak my truth. So I need somebody that's going to be able to complement that. And now I'm sort of, taking a step back and just looking at my options. But you know what the amazing thing is? As God is working, so is the enemy working.
Yeah.
So as you viewing your options, he's going to be putting out the most attractive options.
Yeah.
The most attractive does not mean that will just be your preference, as Isabella said, but it should be a conviction, I think.
Yeah.
No, I know. You move away from preference and you move towards conviction, and this is what's been happening. Among the other things that has been happening with regards to, like, career and things like that, but in the area of relationship, I am now stronger. I don't cry for things as I used to. I'm that emotional type of. I know women are emotional, but like, I'm emotional on another level. So like, I'm like, toned down a bit and just, Lord, it is in your control. But it doesn't mean I sit back and I do nothing. I take my steps, but you direct my path accordingly.
Come on, Trish. I'm about to just end this session and raise you an offering, because you just coming through preaching. But you're hitting some great points. You really are hitting some great points, and I want to kind of segue into this, Bishop. How has this entire pandemic? How have you been able to handle temptation? I know it has come at you in every angle, with you being such a fine specimen as yourself.
Sanctified.
But
So
how have you been sanctified? But how has it been, like, handling temptation? How has that been for you in this pandemic?
I think the pandemic has made it somewhat easier, because of all the precautions and the measures of safety that you want to make sure that you have. In the same token, those that you have maybe have had a history with, that you're comfortable with, those temptations present themselves, because it's not anybody new. It's something that you're used to, something that's I don't want to say common, but something that you're used to, something that you're familiar with, or someone that you're familiar with. So in senses like that, it could be challenging, because there's a stronger trust there. So you trust that person more, so it has its as far as new situations. Oh yeah, there's really no temptation. Old situations, it is tempting.
Yeah. It's been tempting.
We're gonna
keep it a buck
on that one.
Felicia, how has it been like for you? How has temptation been like for you? I mean, I know it's probably been kind of hard with the kids, though. But
So I definitely have to agree with him. When it comes down to something that's new, let's just be honest. those masks, you can't really see too much. You know, your eyes can only tell but so much, right? So there's this whole mouthpiece right here that can, you know, be hidden and be a mess.
What it look
Right,
like.
right. So, you know, something new, you know, it's been really easy. Everybody's just wearing sweatpants and big t-shirts. Nobody's really going anywhere. um, everybody's just comfortable. So, you know, as far as something new, like he said, you know, it's a cakewalk. But when it comes down to somebody that you're used to, somebody that you're familiar with, it is harder because now you're not entertaining new people, you know, and going out and going to the movies and the mall and restaurants and everything because everything closes. So you are entertaining the people who you're used to, and it's more so like a, hey, come hang out, you know, or you know, whatever the case may be, you know. So it's like, all right, you know, those are those limits. It's more of a I want to say closer settings. I don't want to say intimate. You're in closer corners. It's more private. It's more just you and that person. So you have to really maintain your boundaries. And you have to say, you know, okay, well, I'm still going to stay true to what it is that I've said, you know, for myself, you know, to either, and I don't know what it is for anybody else, but for myself, it's, you know, well, I want to be married again, you know, before I'm just like giving myself, you know, everybody can't enter in. So, you know, it's harder. You know, you got to say no. You have to know when to end things. And then also, you know, for me, one thing that because I do a lot of self-reflecting, I've had to say to myself, everybody can't come where you are. You know, just because you're comfortable, everybody can't come over, you know, and that's not something that I have to tell myself. It's something I live by. Like, you can't just come to my house, you know, so it's hard for the people you're comfortable with, you know, you come over there, vice versa. But then again, it's easy because you have the phone too. So it really just depends on how you want to take it. I mean, me, I don't really have too many people come to my house.
Yeah. Right. So, Michelle, I'm gonna get to you because I wanna ask you this, but I'm gonna go to Trish first. Trish, how have you handled temptation during this pandemic?
God is so good. God is so good. Oh yeah, God has been good. It has
Take it to the throne.
I would say it hasn't been as bad because of the fact that, you know, I've been at home for the most part. And, you know, I had like a reason to be at home. Hey, I can't be out there because of the coronavirus. So I think that for me was amazing. You know, I needed that. But overall, I think what Bishop touched on people that you are familiar with. Yes, of course. There's been a few instances, but like, I just, as I said, I'm stronger now, so I can just put a stop to that because of the fact that now I know what I want, and if I know what I want, I can't go and contradict that. So I just don't entertain it. But I would like to talk about like something else, like, you know, there's the mental, the physical, the emotional temptation. So if we talk about the physical temptation, especially if we've been exposed to that part, okay, yes, being alone makes it easier when they are not in front of you. But there's so many things like that sort of physical temptation is still there. It still exists, even though you don't have a physical individual in front of you. So for me personally, that has been a bit of a struggle. And again, there's a reason why I was pushed into this position, because again, the Lord is trying to say, Tushan, do things differently, connect on another level, leave some other connections for later on when it was supposed to be, you know, and get yourself back into connecting on a God level. So yeah, that's where I'm at with regards to temptation.
That's good. That's good. Now, Michelle, I wanted to come to you with this because you kind of talking about it earlier about with the 21-day fast, and then how everything was kind of hitting at you at the same time. And I know it was probably kind of tempting to just give up on the fast and just give up on a lot of things. But how have you handled temptation? And also, what boundaries did you set? Because Felicia did hit on it earlier. She was talking about boundaries, but what boundaries have you set to kind of flee the temptation or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that so many people have struggled with temptation in this pandemic, and especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I heard so many people struggling with things like pornography, and idle hands are the devil's workshop. So when you're sitting around all day, every day, and you have no purpose, you have no vision, you have nothing happening, it's easy to fall into temptation. And having a boyfriend for multiple months during the pandemic, where we couldn't go out to restaurants, we couldn't go out and go to art classes or hikes or whatever the case may be, we couldn't do the things that you would typically do when you're newly dating someone. And so it was a lot of time spent alone in my house. And obviously that comes with the temptation. And I'm not going to say that there wasn't temptation, because obviously, like, you're seeing someone for 4 months at a time, and that's the only person you're seeing. And obviously I'm attracted to him, he's attracted to me. And so it was very challenging. But I think the key was to having a vision. And I tell my clients this all the time: have that vision, write it down. The one thing that we did to start off our relationship, which I think was so powerful, was we took a week from each other and prayed, God, is this relationship supposed to be? And one of my prayers from day one of starting this relationship was, God, if it's not for me, I don't want it. Take it away from me. And that's how I knew it was God, because I didn't want to be in control of it. And yeah, we took a week to go pray about it and to kind of write down our vision for relationships. And I have 2 sides of a paper, and I actually showed this to someone the other day who was also struggling with her own relationship. And one side was the vision that God has given me for my life, my purpose, things that have been prophesied over me, things that God has revealed to me. And the other side was the vision for my relationship. What does that look like? And again, things people prophesied over me. One of the things was that my relationship in the future, my spouse and I will be united. There will be a unity in our relationship, and people will look to our relationship and be like, wow, that's what I want. And that was so beautiful to me, because I grew up around very toxic relationships. So for me, I'm like, wow, God is going to redeem my relationship, because it took a couple, that really showed me what healthy relationship looked like, to change my mindset of relationships. And that's how I even got started into doing what I'm doing. So the fact that, like, God has shown me that is his plan for my future is so beautiful. Why do I want to mess that up? I don't. And so having that vision written down, Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision plain on tablets. And because you see that vision and God has a bigger plan for you, a bigger purpose, a bigger vision for your life, I didn't want to throw that away by doing something that wasn't God ordained for my relationship. And that's how I've been able to, being alone with someone for 4 months is not easy, but because I had that vision of what I wanted my relationship to look like, and because too, I'm in the public eye, preaching relationships, healthy relationships, helping people, I need to be an example to that. And so that was what helped me. And it wasn't so much putting up these strict boundaries, but it was like constantly reminding myself of the vision that God has already put on me for my future relationship.
Now that's good, because you hit on something. It's like you understand your responsibility, and you understand what your title and what your position is, and you're mindful of that, because you don't want to be out here and being like a hypocrite, telling everybody to do one thing and you're not doing it yourself. So I really like that, what you said. I really love that. Isabella, I saw your hand go up. What's up, Felicia?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say I really love that. Like, I love that you have set that for yourself, and that you keep yourself focused on what you know that you have been called to be to do. Like you keep your mindset and you keep your focus set on your purpose. I feel like a lot of us, especially as women, when we're single, we're vulnerable. Especially when we get to a certain age, we're like, okay, our time is ticking. Where is he? God, what are you waiting for? I'm here. And we tend to lose sight of, and this is why I'm so thankful that I'm in the place that I'm at right now and I don't question it because I know I'm here for a reason. And, we tend to lose sight of what God has told us already and who he has told us that he wants us to be. And then you have those who don't even seek God for their purpose. And we think that our purpose is just to be a wife when he has called us to do something that's so much greater. So I'm like so happy to hear you say that, like, oh my gosh, to hear another woman that's like, empowered and to say, listen, I know who I am essentially. And I'm not going to deviate from that. I'm not going to bend it or break, or conform because this is who God has called me to be. So that's all I say.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I know Isabella, she kind of hit on it earlier about just being, kind of that have her relationship aspect with God and just how it's kind of helped her to maintain those boundaries and maintain some of those things. You want to speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, so 2019, like there was a lot of prophecy that I received and just praying over that on where God was taking me. So that's something that even what Michelle said, just writing it down and like reminding yourself about that's very key. So coming into 2020, when I was just focusing on that, like, okay, God, this is what I have planned for me, but what you have planned is completely different. So I want to see how we can work this out. Just like having that conversation with God, like just having that dialogue with your father, your friend, and trusting on the Holy Spirit. That's something that was very key for me as well. So when I was just focusing on that, I was getting down my aspect with my career. I was getting down with the business, with ministry. And the only part that I had kind of put on hold for myself, just knowing that I needed to focus, was relationships, because I knew in the past before that how I am when it comes to relationship is that I can contribute so much. Like this person, I can be doing this and just focusing on that person. So I knew that if I was to remove that aspect out of my single season, then that I will be able to focus more on what God wants for me. So there were times, I think I don't know who mentioned it, but praying that prayer on, if this is not the relationship that I don't need to be in, remove me out of it. It's a prayer that I feel like we all need to pray, because we can be so blinded by what looks good in front of us. Like, oh my God, this makes me feel this type of way, but is it healthy for you? Like, you can eat cake and cake tastes delicious, but are you constantly be eating cake? Is that something that's good for you? So just knowing your diet when it comes to your walk, that is something that's very key. So there was a point where somebody came in the picture. They looked good on paper. They were speaking. They knew the word. They knew everything. But knowing where my purpose was and where they were at, we were not in line. So I had to take that time to take a step away. Was like, you know what? We should really pray about this and like honestly fast about it. When I say that the Lord revealed so much to me within that week, I was like, I knew it. Like I had that gut feeling, but I try to put it aside because of how the person looked and how I felt like I can fit them into the picture. But God was saying no from the beginning. So with that, I had to communicate with them and let them know. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm believing in what God is going to do for me. And this is something that I've made myself that promise since the beginning of the year. So I don't want to jeopardize that for what I think may feel good right now in this moment. And later on will like delay me from where he actually needs to take me. So just leaving that, like I felt so much at peace, because before I was like really safe, I would have probably like just strangled on this person, like, things may change and all that stuff. But I just knew right then, like just being in key with the Holy Spirit and where he was taking me, that this was not going to work. So now, like I was saying earlier, like that person that I've met like through Clubhouse and we've been speaking, getting to know each other, like it's been a whole different like just a different space for me because I feel at peace and God's like, okay, take time, like being able to open up and just speak to him. I don't feel uncomfortable like I did before in like past situations and stuff. So just been praying on that as well. Like, so that's my story.
That's good. That's good. Bishop, I'm kicking it to you. What boundaries have you set?
I don't know if I have set any boundaries that I didn't already have.
I thought you were about to say
it's
you have
different
boundaries.
for
I was
men.
about to say Bishop.
I think it's different for men because it should be in most times the one in pursuit. So if we're going after something, I think it's because we like it, we're attracted to it, we think that that's for us, and then when we actually get into it, it's okay. This is what we're not going to do. This is what we can do. It's different for us. I think most times we take on the boundaries of the woman. Like, okay, this is what she'll allow me to do. This is what she won't allow me to do. So I don't think like I just have the stuff that's gonna keep me safe, what we ain't gonna do. But yeah. So I think most times when you get in a situation, or as men, we take on the boundaries of the woman. This is what this is our parameters. This is how far we can go. Because I think most men are probably extremists. So we're gonna push the envelope, see how far we can go. But yeah, so I don't think I've set any new boundaries since the pandemic. The pandemic itself is a boundary.
God knows.
I do want to add something there because you brought up an interesting point that usually you would go with the boundaries that the woman has set. But one thing that I honestly loved about my last relationship was he had stronger boundaries than I did. And it was a beautiful thing and something that honestly attracted me to him in such a deeper way, because he had already was like, no, this is the boundary. And he was so firm in it that I never even had to even question anything ever, because he already knew his boundary. And I thought that was beautiful. And I think something that more men should do.
Now, this question is for the ladies because Michelle just hit the nail on the head right there. Is that something that you're looking for in your man, that he will set those boundaries and say, this is what we're doing, and he's leading by that example?
Of course.
Yeah.
Every woman wants a man with direction. I feel, and honestly, I was really about to say that, and then she said it. I feel like men should have boundaries as well. To me, a man with boundaries is a man with a purpose and a vision and a plan for what he wants from you and with you. So if he doesn't have any boundaries, he doesn't have any direction, he's just going around out here just willy-nilly with anybody,
Yeah.
And if he has those boundaries and he's coming to you, he's like, listen, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I have a plan to do. Not saying that he has to put his full deck of cards out on the table, but lay it out there, make it clear and plain what it is that you want. What are your standards? What are your boundaries? What are your expectations? Where do you want this to go? And I'll be like, okay, right, this is purpose. All of us are grown.
Yeah.
We're not just dating just to have a little friend anymore. Yeah. We're dating, and the purpose of dating is marriage. So if his, goals and his plan and his vision and those boundaries don't include marital things or, marriage at the end, we date intentionally and have a purpose for it, then, what are we here for?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I feel like oftentimes, and I'm sorry, they say that as women, we set the tone of the relationship. Actually, I really do think that men set the tone of the relationship. It's more so of you show us what it is that you want, and we see how you're acting, and we tend to act accordingly. Exactly. You're going to show me that you're looking for a wife, and, I'm going to show you I can be that wife, depending on who it is, what God has ordained, But if you're just showing me that, you really don't have a purpose, you're just wandering out here, you are not sure of yourself, you know, you don't have yourself together, and he's another man, you know, I don't feel like a man can really have those boundaries for himself if he doesn't know himself. So, you know, I'm talking a lot, but it all ties in. So.
No, you just letting the spirit use you. That's what's going on, and I'm not trying to cut it off. Now I know Trish want to jump in on that because Trish, you were speaking her language just now.
Yeah, like you know, I've been in a relationship where the guy came across as, you know, knowing what he wanted, and exactly what you said, we go according to what we see and what we observe, and that's what I did. You know, I'm not about to impose my whatever on you, and I went with it, but only to find out like 6 months down the line, that's not what he really wanted. He thought he wanted that, but he didn't. And we prayed together. We worked on business strategies together, and it was going good. And then overnight, he was like, I don't want this no more. I was like, what? You know? And I was like, Lord, really? Like, he showed me this is what he wanted. And I mean, at the beginning, when he tried to get my attention, he was like, I know what I want. I don't have time to play games. I was like, oh, wow, look at the words he just used. You know, he got no time to play games. Now I'm going to go with that flow. And then you bring in God. And that's the thing that I think was a frustration for me, is that not all men, but like some men use God to reel in. And then once they reel you in, they forgot what they did to reel you in, you know? And you are still on that same boat, you know? He loves the Lord. He knows what he believes in. And that's, for me, is so important. But I wanted to actually touch on one thing. One of the things that I've been focusing on during this pandemic, and I've learned this many, many years ago, is the word watch, right? The word watch, the W is like, watch your words. In any situation, we know our words have power. And sometimes at work, we get frustrated. We want to say certain things, or in a relationship. So I've been really working on that. You know, as women, there's a certain level that we tolerate, and then it's like a no-go, you know. We want to say what we want to say, but I've learned to respond instead of react nowadays. Yeah. You know, I take a little chill time and then I respond, which I feel is very important, especially us that are now in this position whereby we're preparing ourselves to be wives, we're preparing ourselves to be support structures to our husbands. It is important that we watch our words. And then the A is watch your attitude and your actions, because sometimes you may say the right thing, but how you say it does not correspond. So it's not going to be, you know, you're going to lose your integrity when those two things don't correspond. And then the T is watch your thoughts. You know, sometimes we don't have to say anything, but here we're saying a lot. And, you know, the information we feed ourselves are so important. Like this right here is good, is safe, is a safe environment. Like I could be real right here, and I know it's like my safe place, and I can draw strength from all of you. And like, I know each of us have different things we're interested in and whatever, but I'm trying to be careful of the information I allow to get in here, so that I'm able to watch my thoughts, you know. And then comes to the word WATCH. So C is the word we use, is covenant. In other words, relationship, you know, whether it's friendships or relationships in the family. I've learned to watch that in the sense of weigh it out, see who I need to really be close to, who I need to pull myself away from. There's no hatred here towards anyone, but there are people sometimes you just need to pull yourself away from.
Yeah.
There are people that you need to draw closer to. So that I've been working on. And then the H is your heart. Watch the position of your heart in every single situation that you're placed in. And now we can relate that word now to this, us preparing ourselves for a relationship, or us in our singleness, or us after a breakup, or whatever the case may be. It's like, you can use it in any situation, especially when you are on your own. You're trying to just be with you and God, and just to allow God to make you become intelligently aware, not just aware of what's happening, but intelligently aware, like a great amount of wisdom, a great amount of understanding, a great amount of knowledge, that which comes from above, not earthly knowledge. Because when we allow God to do that, it strengthens you and it allows you to see what God wants you to see. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect from that point. It's still going to be a struggle. You're still going to fail. You're still going to do those things. But how you respond to the situations will determine how long you're going to be in that situation. Like,
That's good.
That was really good.
That was. Felicia, you had your hand up, and then Isabella.
So Trish, I like that too. Like I love this dialogue. Oh my God, it's amazing.
It's amazing. It's
It
really good.
is, right?
And I'm looking at the time. I'm like, God, it's like we've been on here for an hour and a half.
Like I am getting so full. But you said something where you said watch the people who you are around. I feel like that is so key. When you surround yourself around chaos, you attract chaos. You can't hear. You can't function. You can't really think. But when you surround yourself around people who are like-minded individuals, and when you surround yourself around people who have the same goal as you, who you can pray with and who can pray for you, who have the same, well, you don't necessarily have to have the same vision, but vision of yourself, and when you have share the same morals, you're able to hear more. You're able to be more so in line with God's will. Because one thing about it, and this is a personal experience too, I have been in situations where I've had certain people around me and I'll be praying and I feel like I can't get my prayer through because I can't hear. I can't hear what he's saying to me. I have no doubt. Like, I'm like really like this way and this way and this way because it's all this confusion and chaos around me. And God is not a God of confusion. He's not a God of chaos. So how can he be in that midst if this is what I have around me? Same thing with relationships. And because friendships are relationships also. And I don't think that we take the time to realize that friendships are relationships. So when you have certain friends who are around you who don't share the same thoughts and the same morals and values and the same experience, not even experiences, but you get what I'm saying? Like, but they don't share that same thing. It's kind of hard to be around them when you're going this way and they're going this way. So you tend to take your focus from God and from praying and from reading your word to tend to this issue over here and to tend to this mess over here, and it draws a wedge. So then you're wondering why, why am I attracting my look? Because I really think that for us, when you're dating, you have a look and then you have your type. You have your type of person who you want, and then you have the look of that person. And oftentimes we fall for that look. So we start getting more of our look and not our type because we're not in tune. We're not really able to hear from God and see the path that he is directing us down. That discernment isn't kicking in, and it's because of who you have around you. And I feel like your support system is everything, especially when you're in a place where you're trying to progress. And you really have to evaluate the people who you have around you. A lot of times we can't move forward. We're like, okay, well, I'm at a standstill. And being that this is about dating, it could be I'm at a standstill with dating, or either, my look is coming, but my type is not. You really have to evaluate what you are, and you said this also earlier, what you're feeding your spirit. What's entering in here? What's entering in your heart? What thoughts are you entertaining? What things are you saying? What are you receiving? What are you understanding even? So we have to guard ourselves, and you have to be cautious and you have to filter those things out, and you can't just keep people around you out of you being familiar and comfortable with them.
Exactly. And honestly, everything that you guys are saying, I know we're on a singles panel, but all of those same things apply for married folk. Like you have to watch who you're around, watch the relationships that you're building with people outside of your marriage, and just watch all of those things, because they can either bring detrimental relationships or detrimental issues to your marriage,
Yes.
or they can edify your marriage. I know for me and my wife, we spoke to this last night on another panel, that we only seek friends that are married. Like
Yes.
if we're gonna hang out with different people or different ones, we're gonna go to their house and chill and this, that, and the third, then they have to be married. Like it can't be anything outside of that. And it's only because of the fact that we're trying to build that community or build that I would say that relationship to where we're looking at things from the same level playing field, that we're both married and we both can relate to a lot of the same issues and the same things that we're dealing with. Because for me, I can only relate to you guys but so much. And my knowledge of being single only goes back to 2008, 2009. We're in 2021. Like that was a long time ago. And so it's on a different level playing field now when you're married and you have kids and you have all these different factors that come into play once you're in a relationship and when you're in a committed marriage like this. So this is a really, really great conversation. This is really good. I was coming to you. I know you sitting there with some fire.
When I was listening to what Trisha said and Felicia as well, and you even mentioned it, the key word that I kept hearing was community.
Yeah.
And it's very important that you look at your community on if they're adding value to you or if they're taking away value. And that's something that is like, because I can have a conversation with this person, maybe they're an assignment to you, maybe there's somebody that you can have as an advisor, or there's somebody that you need to bring along with you in where God is taking you. So it's always important to look at your community. Like I always make sure like whoever I'm speaking to, if I know the conversation is going to go a certain route, I'm be like, all right, like keep it very short, keep it very brief. But if I know that somebody that's calling me, that they can bring value, they can give me insight on something, I wouldn't mind being on that conversation with them, because I know that by the end of the conversation, I've learned more than I came in initially with that conversation. So yeah, that's one thing that just kept coming to me, was just the importance of evaluating your community that you're around.
Yeah. That's good. Michelle, do you want to add anything before we move to the last point?
No, I think these ladies are just a wealth of knowledge that people need to hear. So good.
So good. So good. So we're gonna close with this last question, and we're gonna leave this as the closing thought. And you can either use this talking about yourself, or you can use this to kind of motivate or inspire others. But what can you do as a single or as a single person to be proactive during this time in this pandemic? And I'm actually gonna start with we're gonna start with the man of God.
Back to the original point about being intentional, knowing what you want, where you want to end, and then knowing where you are currently. So you still have to be mindful of where you are, so where you're going and where you are, so that you can take the necessary steps to get to what your end goal is. So being aware of where you want to go and then being aware of where you are is important, and working towards that, because like we said earlier, we're in a quarantine. Well, we're in a pandemic. And so at this point, you have time to work on those things, things that we didn't have time to before. You really do have time to focus on and tune into and really be intentional about the progression that you're making to get to where it is that you want to go from where you are.
That's good. That's good stuff. Michelle, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things, but I think like one thing that I really noticed throughout this pandemic is a lot of people who have said like, I value certain things prior to the pandemic have kind of lost those things in the pandemic. So I think it's going back to like your proclaimed values. Like, what are your proclaimed values? If I say I value the health and wellness and fitness, and then I haven't worked out in a year because, well, we're in a pandemic, is that actually a value that you are saying is a value, something I value in my life? So like actually revisiting your values and saying like, what is it? What is it I value? And are my actions reflecting that? because pandemic or not, your values are always going to be your values.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said, you know, before, it's like the pandemic, it's like, oh, I value XYZ because it's convenient, not because it's actually a value. It's because, oh, well, that was convenient to do. Whereas, like, for myself, for example, I used to work out a lot. I used to go to workout classes. Well, obviously, I can't do that right now. Toronto, especially, is super locked down. But I still run 6 days a week because I value health and fitness. You know, same with prayer life. It's like, you know, is this a value that I actually am going to stick to day in and day out? And you know, a second part to that is just using this time to become self-aware in the areas that you need to work on, self-aware to like what God wants you to do with you right now, not 5 years down the road, not 10 years down the road, not once you're married, not once you're dating someone, but right now in the season of singleness, where does God want you? And it's just like praying and asking for discernment of like, where do you want me right now? And what's the next step? And it may seem so small. It may not be this giant thing. It's usually step by step. And so it's little by little. So yeah, being really just intentional about seeking God, what do I do right now in this season? Direct me to that. And again, it's probably going to be something super small, but it's those little steps of obedience that help get you to the place that God is calling you to.
I love that. Felicia, what do you want to add?
I would say, and we haven't really talked about this, but I would say as a single person, take this time to heal. Take this time to love yourself. Take this time to learn yourself. Take this time to date yourself. Take this time to really, you know, like Michelle said, seek God in every area. Be specific with your prayers. Be intentional about who you have in your circle, your friendships, you know, your relationships. Have some type of purpose, you know, really focus on you. Because once you focus on yourself, you know, everything else will come. You can't really say, I want this, I want this, I want that, but you don't know yourself. You can't say that, you know, this is how you want things to go when you're still dealing with trauma or hurt from your past. You know, you want to make sure that you are the best you. You want to make sure that you are 100% whole, because oftentimes we think bonus relationship it should be 50-50. No, it should be 100-100.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, be whole, you know, and have fun. Have fun. Don't be so serious. Don't rush. Take your time. I know for myself, in the beginning of every situation, whether it's going good or bad, within those first few conversations, God, if this isn't you, please take it away. And I promise you, and we mentioned that earlier, if as a single person you just adapt that prayer, I promise you, your life will be so much easier. It'll be so much easier. But you have to be willing to listen and pay attention and trust what God is showing you.
That's key. You have to be willing to listen. Trish, what you have to leave with us? I'm gonna call you. I was going to say prophetess, but
Oh no.
but I would say evangelist, probably the most appropriate title. What you got to add?
Well, I think for me, over the years, I've been wanting to walk in this purpose that I've been told that the Lord placed within me before the foundations of the earth, you know, before I was placed in my mother's womb. So, Lord, what is this purpose? So I took the time to figure out what have I been in love with over the years, and exactly what I'm doing now is speaking and just speaking my heart and just trying to be an inspiration to others is exactly what I've been doing. Like I could just get up at church in front of a huge crowd of people and just go with it. You know, once I have a microphone, I can run with it, you know. And then during this time, that's what my focus has been. And that's why I said I wasn't looking to date and stuff during this time. And the Lord has been so great because I've been locked into that. And I've been developing myself and making connections. Like every day I'm like, Lord, I am happy and I'm grateful for you. because you are connecting me with prominent people locally, nationally, internationally. And that is exactly what's being done. I am up always around this time because I'm only connecting to people internationally. So I've made this declaration. I actually made this declaration like in 2015. I said my final home, my home is going to be America. So I'm now intentional about that. I said it then, but I didn't really work on anything because I was like, let me just go with this flow. But then now I'm intentional. I'm working towards, okay, what steps do I need to take to get there? Or how do I immigrate? So if the Lord doesn't want me to, I didn't sit back and wait. The fact is I took steps. And right now, in this 12 months, the Lord dropped into I know this was him because it happened in like 10 minutes. I was sitting and watching something and I just woke up and I scribbled. And I was like, okay, everybody's focusing on goals now. Let me just put something together. Let's create a journal for us, And that's what I did. And because you attract what you give regard to. So I've been just giving regard to, Lord, I want to walk in my purpose. Mm-hmm. And now I have like my journal published about a week ago by an American publishing company from South Carolina. And I'm in South Africa, things are so much has happened in this time. I'm in the process of launching my podcast. I'm in the process of creating a magazine that needs to be out quarterly. And I'm like, okay, this is like, whoa, roller coaster. But it's so good because now the Lord is like, I've been waiting for you for so long. And, and I've got you where I want you. So he's just like letting it flow. And I'm like, Lord, I just want to be prepared for this. I don't want to fail you now. I want to be able to just move on and move forward because exactly what was said, we need two wholes coming together. So I'm busy making myself whole. And I know he's out there somewhere making himself whole. And one day we're going to come together and just create something beautiful that the Lord has ordained, that the Lord has planned. So yes, great things are happening during the pandemic. And it's very rare that people say that, that great things are happening during the pandemic. Like, I mean, come on, who can actually say that? People who know who they believe in, know their God, and believe that God works in the midst of the chaos. That's what you need to believe in. So whoever's watching right now, remember that in the midst of your chaos, God is there, but you need to see him there and you need to say, okay, I want you to be in it with me. Because if you don't invite him, he's a gentleman. If you don't invite him in, he's not going to be there. He's going to stand there and wait until you invite him. So invite him first before you invite him. That's all I'm saying.
Come on, Trish. See, she's now the evangelist. I've moved her up. She's evangelist Trish. How you pronounce your last name? Is it Govender? What'd you say?
Is that the sun coming up behind you?
Bro, I was just about to say that. I was like, we talked on here so long. It was dark, and now the sun is up where she's at. It's what 5:52 your way?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, you're evangelist now. You've got a friend in me. You because you are preaching. See, look, Michelle Murphy preach bell. She knows. It's all over you. But yeah, that is some great stuff. Isabella, come on. I know you're gonna bring some heat.
That's actually my good friend Michelle. So hey, Michelle. But listen, you guys. I feel like I can't really say nothing after what Trisha said. But one thing that was just sticking in my mind was that something that a single person can do to be productive during this time is don't focus on your relationship status and just focus on you as an individual. So just know yourself, like what Felicia said as well, like be intentional, have fun, enjoy, learn different things, try something new, because you may find what your purpose is in line with what you get your mentors and things that you're passionate about, people that you may meet. You never know who your destiny helper is, but just putting yourself in different avenues as well. And another thing that's popping into mind is being single, be able to intercede for the future, like in order to just be praying for your future children, your future spouse that's coming under, like everything that God is building you towards, like just being able to pray for that and just having that focus. So that's all I wanted to add, because I'm really loving the panel tonight. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm so full as well as what Felicia said. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, this was amazing. This was a really great panel. I thank God for each and every one of you for being a part of this panel discussion. To the ones who are watching via Facebook and YouTube, thank you for tuning in. Michelle, to be honest, I literally was just talking to Michelle Apples this past week. I was like, we need to do something like this on Clubhouse, because this conversation is really good and it's very enriching. So Michelle Murphy, be on the lookout. We'll probably do something very soon. But I want to leave with this closing note. I was literally, as you guys were talking, Felicia hit it, Michelle hit it, Bishop hit it, Trish hit it. I'm sorry, Evangelist hit it, and, and Isabella hit it. I mean, you guys are on it. And when you guys were giving your final thoughts, it just literally took me to Matthew 6:33, where it says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you." To be proactive in this season, what you should do as a single, and this is just some of my own advice. I think that, and I made this same point last week. I think the biggest thing that you should do is get so lost in God that you are so in tune with Him. Your relationship with Him is so spot on and perfect, to the point that you're so much into Him that you're not even looking for someone just comes your way, and it's like you just don't know what's going on. It's kind of like what Isabella was talking about earlier. It's like everything happening is like God ordained. I know for me and my wife, when we first met, I didn't see her at all at church. She saw me, and she probably gonna kill me when I say this, but she saw me. It was like, that's what I want. I didn't even know nothing about that until I saw her. And when I saw her for the first time, I was like, okay, Jesus, I see you. So it was a beautiful thing. And it was like everything that kind of built off of that was all because of, like, I feel like it was God ordained. God was showing me great things about her and vice versa. And I'm saying all that, as singles, you want to be in a place or in an area where you are just focusing on God, focusing on your relationship with Him, and that no matter what happens, no matter what comes your way, Felicia, you crazy. You just threw me off. No matter what happens, no matter what comes your way, you're not dismayed by, false relationships or anything that may take you off your course. You're focused. You have a plan, you have a purpose. And the word for the night has been intentional. You're intentional. You're intentionally seeking God, not for a spouse, but you're intentionally seeking God to enhance and to better your relationship with Him, so that everything else will be added to you. Your relationship, your husband, your wife, the blessings that come with that, children, finances, everything, all of that will be added to you. But the biggest thing is just making sure that your relationship with God is spot on. When your relationship with God is spot on, you start to realize things within yourself that you need to change and make better, before you even think about trying to get in a relationship with someone else. We talked about that a little bit last night in the panel discussion that I was in, and it's just so happened to fit right now. You don't want to get into a relationship broken. Both of you guys broken. You both want to be made whole, and the only one who can make you whole is Jesus Christ. So do everything that you can to be whole and be one in Him, so that when the two of you come together, as Bible say, and become one, you're both two whole individuals making one whole body that accurately and beautifully represent Christ and what it is to have a relationship with Him. So that's the last closing note that I will leave on today, or on tonight, well, Trish time, or the evangelist is really the day, but for us over here, it's nighttime. And I know Michelle has to go and hop on Clubhouse. But I thank each and every one of you guys for being a part of this panel discussion. I really do. Next week we will be back. I know Michelle will be back. I know Felicia will be back. I don't know if Bishop will be back. Isabella and Evangelist, the platform is open for you guys as well to come back. We'll probably, I'm pretty sure we're going to have some more people, some more individuals that's going to hop on already, because this topic that we're going to talk about next week it might get us in trouble a little bit. We're going to be talking about dating in the church.
Oh, sweet mama.
Let's go.
Bishop grabs his glass. We're going to be talking about dating in the church, and I feel like that conversation is really going to be good. I'm working to get a very special guest, and I'm praying that she responds to my email. She asked for dates, and I gave her dates, but I'm still waiting to hear back from her. But she's a purity coach and a purity specialist, and I'm praying to God that I can get her on next week. Because she would be a great ad for that particular topic, because I would literally just say dating in church and purity, and we just gonna go in on those two. So if you're watching, please, if you're watching via YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching via Facebook, please like and share this page. Like our Facebook page, One Faith, and also find us on YouTube at One Faith. Find us on all social media outlets at We Are One Faith. And yeah, I have nothing else to say. So thank you guys.
Thank
Y'all
you
be
so
blessed.
much.
And we will see you next week.